That day in the kitchen stands out as one of the wildest yet most exhilarating moments of my life, all thanks to my stepsister Claire. On that seemingly mundane Wednesday afternoon, an unsettling stillness enveloped the house, broken only by the soft rhythmic ticking of the wall clock in the kitchen. For the better part of the day, I found myself alone at home, aimlessly scrolling through the channels on the television, seeking a way to fill the hours. My father and his wife, Linda, had ventured out for the day, engaged in errands or whatever. Activities occupied their time when they vanished together. That left Claire and me alone in the house. Claire and I had never shared a deep bond. Though we shared a similar age, we stood as stark contrasts in almost every aspect. She was perpetually the one with an eye for detail, the sort of girl who crafted a strategy for every conceivable situation. I was the relaxed, easygoing sort, satisfied to drift along with the current. Our relationship had perpetually maintained a sense of cordiality, yet remained shrouded in distance. We shared a home, offered courteous nods, yet that was the limit of our connection. Yet, in recent times, a subtle change had occurred. In recent weeks, I observed a change in the way Claire regarded me. Initially, I questioned my perception, the way her gaze held onto mine for an extra heartbeat, the subtle excuses she crafted, to position herself within my orbit, settling just a fraction too near. It was subtle, imperceptible to the casual observer, yet I sensed it deeply. It lingered in the background, a quiet presence that began to gnaw at my sanity. That afternoon, I found myself in the kitchen, idly scrolling through my phone while the sun poured in through the windows. I attempted to dismiss the peculiar energy that lingered in the atmosphere whenever Claire entered the scene. She had remained cloistered in her room for what felt like an eternity, or so I believed. Yet the moment I sensed footsteps trailing behind me, I understood that she was poised to reveal herself. Greetings. As Claire entered the kitchen, her voice shattered the stillness that enveloped the room. I lifted my gaze from the screen, and there she was, framed in the doorway, her arms folded tightly across her chest. She appeared at ease, yet there was an intensity in her gaze, a spark that quickened my heartbeat ever so slightly. "Hey," I responded, nonchalantly, attempting to maintain an air of composure. "Hello there." She shrugged, stepping deeper into the kitchen, her eyes locked onto mine. Nothing in particular, just had the urge to come downstairs. The atmosphere is rather tranquil in this space. I nodded and placed my phone gently on the table. Indeed it is. Linda and Dad are not expected to return for some time. Claire cast a fleeting glance at the clock before returning her gaze to me, a subtle smile dancing on her lips. I understand, which is precisely why I made my way here. A knot formed in my stomach at her words, though the reason eluded me. Her gaze held a peculiar quality, a blend of mischief and gravity that intrigued me. It stirred a sense of unease within me, yet simultaneously sparked my curiosity. Claire approached the stove, reaching for a glass nestled in the cabinet, and filled it with water. She glided with a measured grace, each step infused with an awareness of my gaze upon her. Indeed, I was. I was powerless to resist. Her movements held a certain allure, the strands of her hair cascading gently over her shoulders, and the subtle curve of her lips forming a small, knowing smile. It was difficult to avert one's gaze. "What brings you to this solitary space?" she inquired, pausing to savor a sip from her glass as she leaned against the counter. I shrugged, making an effort to maintain a nonchalant tone. "Seems I find myself in a state of ennui, passing the moments, until their return." She nodded, her gaze unwavering as it remained fixed on mine. "Your behavior has been rather unusual of late." The remark took me by surprise, and I couldn't help but furrow my brow a bit. "Strange? Could you clarify what you mean?" Claire inclined her head, her smile expanding ever so slightly. "I'm uncertain. It seems you have been steering clear of my presence." My eyes widened, taken aback by her keen insight. I had not considered that I might be evading her presence, Yet perhaps that was indeed the case. The tension that had been building between us, though unintentional, was palpable, and I found myself at a loss for how to navigate it. "I'm not avoiding you," I insisted, though my tone betrayed a hint of uncertainty. She arched an eyebrow, placing her glass gently on the counter. "Is that so? Seems as though you are." I squirmed in my seat, grappling with the uncertainty of my response. The reality was that I had been maintaining a certain distance from Claire. Uncertainty loomed over us, a palpable shift that I couldn't quite grasp. It felt as though the very fabric of our connection had altered, leaving me adrift and unsure of how to find my way through this new terrain. Uncertainty lingered in my mind. Was it merely my own perception, or did she share this unspoken connection? Regardless, I had been making an effort to push it aside. I found myself uttering a feeble excuse. "I've just been busy," fully aware that it lacked any real justification. Claire's smile broadened and she moved nearer, her eyes sparkling with an enigmatic allure I couldn't fully grasp. "It seems you're quite occupied, aren't you? Are you really too busy to have a conversation with me?" Her voice carried a playful lilt, yet beneath that lightness, I detected a deeper, more serious undertone. She wasn't merely toying with words. There was a profound truth lurking beneath her silence, an unspoken depth that resonated beyond the surface. "I'm not avoiding you, Claire," I reiterated, my voice softer this time, tinged with uncertainty. She advanced another step, her 4 mere feet away from me now. The atmosphere in the room was palpable, a heavy weight pressing down on the space that separated us. My heart raced and I gulped, striving to maintain my calm. "I believe you are," she murmured, her gaze probing into mine. "But you don't have to." I paused, momentarily stunned by her words. The room seemed to constrict, the distance between us diminishing with each fleeting moment. Claire's presence enveloped me, her closeness clouding my thoughts and leaving me disoriented. "I don't know what you're talking about," I replied, though the words echoed emptily in the air. Claire moved even nearer, her face just inches from mine. The warmth of her body enveloped me, a gentle heat emanating from her skin. My heart thundered within my chest, and my thoughts raced frantically as I struggled to grasp the unfolding reality. This was my stepsister, a person I had shared my life with for 2 years. Yet, in this moment, she no longer embodied the role of a sister. She transformed into something altogether different. "You needn't put on a facade," Claire murmured, her voice scarcely rising above a whisper. "I'm certain you experienced it as well." I froze my breath hitching in my throat as her words penetrated my consciousness. She was correct. I had sensed it, the tension, the unvoiced bond that had been quietly brewing between us for weeks. I had attempted to dismiss it, to persuade myself that it was merely a figment of my imagination, but now with her standing so near, her gaze firmly fixed on mine, the truth was undeniable. I began to speak, yet my words faltered, slipping away into the void of uncertainty. Claire's hand stirred, extending to softly graze my arm. The touch was subtle, almost ethereal, yet it ignited a surge of energy within me, quickening my heartbeat to an exhilarating tempo. "You don't have to say anything," she whispered, a small knowing smile gracing her lips. "Cease the charade." Before I had the chance to reply, Claire drew closer, her lips gently grazing my cheek. The action was straightforward, nearly naive, yet it ignited every fiber of my being. I remained paralyzed, caught in a moment where motion and thought eluded me as the weight of the unfolding reality settled in. This was not merely a figment of my imagination. But rather a palpable tension that lingered in the air. Claire sensed it as well, and now there was no turning back. I remained motionless, captivated as Claire's lips grazed my cheek. It wasn't a complete kiss. rather a playful tease, a suggestion of something more profound. Yet it was sufficient to send my heart racing. The warmth of her breath brushed against my skin, while the delicate pressure of her lips hung in the air, a tantalizing reminder of our closeness. "Claire," I murmured, my voice scarcely rising above a whisper. I found myself at a loss for words, unsure of what I truly wished to express. A fragment of my being urged me to distance myself, to bring this to a close before it deepened. Yet another part, the one I had been striving to suppress, yearned for her to remain near, to uncover the path that lay ahead. She remained still. Instead, she offered a gentle, understanding smile that sent my heart into a flurry. "What is it?" she inquired with a sense of naivety, as though nothing unusual had transpired. The tension between us had become undeniable, crackling in the air like static electricity. I began with, "We can't," but the words echoed back to me, devoid of substance, as if I lacked conviction in my own voice. My thoughts whirled in a chaotic dance, struggling to grasp the unfolding reality. Here stood Claire, my stepsister. This was incorrect? Was it not? Yet, she shifted once more, drawing nearer, her form gently grazing against me. The warmth emanated from her skin, a gentle softness in her touch as she lifted her hand and rested it delicately against my chest. My breath caught in my throat as a torrent of emotions surged within me. Confusion, excitement, fear, and an elusive feeling that danced just beyond my grasp. "Who dares to claim we cannot?" she whispered, her gaze fixed intently upon me. Her gaze held a challenge, a question lingering in the space that separated us. I swallowed hard, attempting to clear my mind, yet it was futile to think clearly with her so near, her touch sending tremors through every fiber of my being. "You understand?" The reason I stated, my voice trembling with uncertainty. Claire's hand glided down my chest, her fingers mapping a slow, intentional journey that sent my heart racing even more. "Am I?" she inquired gently, a teasing smile dancing upon her lips. "It appears to me that your desire for this mirrors my own." Her words struck me with the force of a blow, leaving me breathless and my thoughts in disarray. Was she correct? Had I desired this from the very beginning? A chill coursed through me, accompanied by a wave of guilt that welled up from within. Yet, concurrently, there existed another force, one that was more potent. A fragment of my being had long anticipated this moment, had yearned for it without fully acknowledging the desire. I don't. I began, but once more my voice faded, leaving the thought uncompleted. Claire moved in closer, her body melding against mine, and I could sense the quick rhythm of her heart pulsing through her chest. Her eyes held an intensity, brimming with a blend of desire and curiosity, rendering it utterly impossible to divert one's gaze. "There's no need for fear," she murmured, her fingers gliding up to cradle the side of my neck, her thumb grazing softly along my jawline. No need for pretense. Any longer, the ground seemed to shift beneath me, as if the world had tilted off its axis, leaving me to spin in a chaotic whirl of uncertainty. Everything about this felt amiss, yet simultaneously it resonated with a sense of inevitability, as if we had been on a path leading to this very moment for ages, even if neither of us dared to acknowledge it. "Claire, this is." I attempted once more, yet my voice wavered. She shook her head, quieting me with the gentlest of gestures, her fingers gliding softly over my lips. "It's okay," she murmured, her voice unwavering. "No words are necessary." In that fleeting moment, before I could intervene, Claire drew closer, her lips meeting mine in a kiss that was simultaneously gentle and charged with an undeniable spark. It began softly, with a certain reluctance, as though she were offering me an opportunity to retreat. Yet I refrained. I was unable to. Instead, I discovered myself kissing her in return, my hands naturally finding their way to her waist, drawing her nearer. The kiss deepened slow and deliberate, igniting a wave of heat within me, spreading like wildfire. Every nerve in my body was heightened, each inch of my skin alive with the electric intensity of the moment. Claire's fingers wove through my hair, her body melding against mine, creating a pressure that rendered each breath a challenge. This was genuine. This was unfolding. I wished for it to continue endlessly as we finally separated, breathless and exhilarated. Our foreheads lingered together, a moment of shared intimacy as we sought to regain our breath. The world faded into a haze, and for an instant, it felt as if time itself had paused, as if nothing else held significance but the two of us, poised in the kitchen, ensnared in an unexpected moment that neither of us could have anticipated. "What? Just transpired?" I murmured, my voice trembling yet brimming with incredulity. Claire's lips curled into a gentle yet playful smile as her gaze met mine. "What is this sensation?" I gulped, my thoughts still in a whirlwind. I found myself at a loss for words in response to that. It seemed as though the very fabric of our relationship had transformed. The tension that had been quietly brewing between us for weeks finally erupting into the open. Yet, it seemed as though there was no turning back, no means to reverse the events that had just unfolded. "I don't know," I confessed softly, my hands lingering on her waist. "However, this is not something we can pursue." Claire's smile wavered, just a touch, yet she remained steadfast, refusing to retreat. Instead, she gazed at me with a fervor that sent my heart racing anew. "What's stopping us?" she inquired, her voice barely above a whisper. "What holds us back?" Her words sparked a whirlwind of confusion and exhilaration within me, causing my stomach to knot tightly. This was incorrect. It must have been a mistake. Yet the intensity of her gaze, the softness of her kiss, rendered everything profoundly tangible, utterly inescapable. "Text? I mean, you're my stepsister," I murmured, the words slipping from my lips with a certain fragility, as if they were less a justification and more a feeble attempt to rationalize the situation. Claire arched an eyebrow, a smile creeping back onto her lips. "What does it matter?" she inquired, her tone gentle yet firm. "We share no ties of blood. We are merely two individuals. Do not allow that to hinder your progress." Her reasoning sent my thoughts whirling. In a technical sense, she held the correct position. We were not bound by blood. Our bond was forged solely through the union of our parents. Yet the gravity of that reality loomed over me, casting a shadow that felt inescapable. Yet what of them? What is the situation with Dad and Linda? I inquired, my voice scarcely rising above a whisper. Claire's smile dimmed, and she let out a gentle sigh, retreating slightly to establish a small distance between us. "I don't know," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yet I am aware that I can no longer feign that nothing is unfolding between us." Her words struck me deeply, igniting a torrent of emotions within me, a swirl of guilt, a haze of confusion, and an undercurrent of something profound, something I hesitated to define. She was indeed correct. We could no longer maintain the facade. The strain that had simmered between us for far too long had finally reached its boiling point, and now that the moment had arrived, retreat was no longer an option. What are we to do now? "I'm not sure we can simply overlook this," I murmured, my thoughts still whirling. Claire nodded, her gaze gentle as it met mine. "We don't need to solve everything at this moment," she said softly. "Let us proceed gradually, one step at a time." Her words instilled an unexpected tranquility amidst the tempest that had been swirling within me. She was indeed correct. We need not possess all the answers immediately. We simply had to confront the truth, both within ourselves and between one another, regarding the unfolding situation. I inhaled deeply, sensing the tightness in my chest begin to dissipate. "Very well," I replied in a gentle tone. Progress unfolds gradually, one step at a time. Claire smiled, a true and heartfelt smile this time, and the sight of it filled my heart with warmth. We'll figure it out, she murmured softly, in unison. In that fleeting instant, I found myself believing her. Yet the tale was far from concluded. The days following that pivotal moment in the kitchen drifted by in a blur, and the tension between Claire and me appeared to intensify with each passing hour. It was more than the recollection of that kiss, or the way her fingertips ignited a spark within me. We were acutely aware that we had traversed a boundary that was irrevocably sealed behind us, and now all was transformed. We endeavored to navigate our days as if everything remained unchanged, as if nothing had transpired. Yet it proved to be an insurmountable task. Whenever we found ourselves in the same space, the atmosphere crackled with an unarticulated tension, a palpable energy that lingered between us. With each fleeting glance and every unintentional brush of skin, my heart raced, mirroring the fervor I glimpsed in Claire's eyes. It felt as though an irresistible force drew us together, despite our awareness of the peril that lay ahead. One evening, roughly a week after that incident in the kitchen, I found myself perched on the couch in the living room, attempting to concentrate on the television. Yet my thoughts continued to drift away. The soft rustle of Claire bustling about in the kitchen reached my ears, accompanied by the gentle clatter of plates and the quiet thud of cabinets shutting as she tidied up after dinner. My father and Linda had ventured out once more, likely attending yet another dinner party, leaving the house devoid of company save for the two of us. The silence of the house enveloped me, an overwhelming emptiness that amplified the clamor of my thoughts. My thoughts were consumed by Claire, the way her gaze had pierced through me, the sensation of her lips brushing against mine, and the lingering warmth of her touch that remained long after she had stepped back. Each moment spent in her presence was charged with an unspoken tension, and the harder I attempted to dismiss it, the more it intensified. Just as I was on the verge of rising to retreat to my room, Claire materialized in the doorway of the living room, her hands being dried on a dish towel. For a brief moment, she remained silent, her gaze firmly fixed on mine. The expression on her face sent a chill coursing through me, and I could feel my heart racing. "Are you all right?" she inquired, her tone gentle yet tinged with an elusive undertone that I couldn't fully identify. I nodded, a constriction tightening around my throat. Indeed, merely contemplating, Claire entered the room, flinging the dish towel onto a nearby chair, then settled onto the edge of the couch just a few feet from me. The atmosphere surrounding us was electric, and I could sense my heart racing within my chest. "What about?" she inquired, her gaze probing into my own. For a moment I paused, caught in the web of uncertainty about how to respond. The reality was she had occupied my thoughts, along with the memories of us, ever since that evening in the kitchen. Yet I found myself at a loss for words, uncertain if I was prepared to face the truth of what was unfolding between us. "Just everything," I finally uttered, my voice scarcely rising above a whisper. Claire nodded, her eyes unwavering as they remained locked onto mine. Indeed, I share that sentiment. For a fleeting moment, we lingered in silence, the burden of all that remained unspoken pressing down on us like a thick fog. The tension between us was palpable, an invisible thread weaving us together with each fleeting moment. In that moment, I realized that if I didn't rise and distance myself immediately, the situation was poised to intensify in a manner I wasn't certain I could handle. Yet, I remained still. Instead, I felt myself leaning closer to her, compelled by an unseen force that I could no longer resist. Claire remained steadfast, refusing to retreat. She locked her gaze with mine, her eyes gentle and warm, revealing the same longing reflected in her expression. Her desire mirrored my own. "We had agreed to take it slow," I whispered, my voice trembling. Claire smiled, a subtle knowing smile that sent my heart racing. "We are taking it slow," she murmured gently. "However, that does not imply we should turn a blind eye to the unfolding events." Her words sparked a surge of energy within me, and before I could restrain myself, I leaned in, narrowing the gap that separated us. Claire met me halfway, her lips grazing mine in a kiss that was gentle, hesitant, reminiscent of our very first encounter. Yet in this moment there was an absence of hesitation and absence of guilt. At last, the two of us surrendered to the palpable tension that had been simmering for weeks. The kiss deepened, slow and deliberate, as Claire's hand glided up to rest on the back of my neck, drawing me nearer. My heart raced within my chest, a vibrant energy coursing through my skin, electrified by the sheer intensity of the moment. In that moment, it felt as though the world around me dissolved, leaving only her touch, her warmth, her very presence at the center of my universe. As we finally separated, our breaths came in ragged gasps, our foreheads gently touching as we sought to regain our composure. The world faded into a haze, and for an instant, it was as if we existed alone in the vast expanse of the universe. I suggested softly that we might want to stop, even though deep down I didn't truly mean it. My hands lingered on her waist, a reluctant grip I was unwilling to release. Claire smiled, her fingers softly caressing the side of my face. "Are you truly ready to put an end to this?" With a moment's pause, my heart quickened in my chest. I find myself uncertain, hesitant to disrupt the delicate balance of things. She let out a gentle sigh, her forehead lingering against mine. "I understand your perspective, but perhaps we're not causing any disruption after all. Perhaps we are simply navigating our way through it all." Her words lingered in the space that separated us, and I found myself unable to deny the truth in her statement. This felt intentional, not like a misstep, felt entirely right. It seemed as though a force had been gathering momentum for ages, now at last breaking free to reveal itself. "I don't know what we're supposed to do," I admitted, my voice barely rising above a whisper. Claire leaned in, her voice steady. "But I know," she said. In that instant, I found myself unable to contain it any longer, and she became aware of my struggle, and thus her lips met mine. With fervor, we surrendered to the moment. The sensation was nothing short of extraordinary. I was so immersed in the moment, so captivated by the intimacy that unfolded from the kiss, that I hardly registered what was happening around me. It seems that my enthusiasm led to a swift conclusion, yet she appeared unfazed by it all. A wave of relief washed over me. After a moment's pause, she stirred, rising to her feet as she declared, "We'll figure it out," before vanishing up the stairs. As she made her way toward the stairs, I offered a nod, yet within me, a quiet certainty lingered that the path ahead would not be so straightforward. The subsequent days unfolded as if we were ensnared in a peculiar limbo, a reality held in abeyance. Claire, and I had ventured into uncharted territory, and retreat was no longer an option. Each glance, each touch, each solitary moment bore a significance that lingered between us, unspoken yet palpable. Though we never spoke of the events that transpired between us, the connection lingered, palpable and inescapable. I endeavored to maintain my routine with a semblance of normalcy, yet an undeniable shift lingered in the air, as if everything had transformed. Claire's presence in the house was impossible to ignore. Her footsteps echoed softly as she navigated the space, and her gaze felt like a tangible force, tracking my every move whenever we shared a room. The atmosphere seemed to grow denser, infusing each exchange between us with an electric tension, laden with unvoiced sentiments. One evening, roughly a week after that second kiss, we found ourselves once more alone in the house. My dad and Linda had ventured out for dinner, leaving us enveloped in a silence that magnified every thought, every emotion. As I sat at the kitchen table, My fingers idly turned the pages of a magazine that held no real interest.